Hello, my name is Michael Mass, and it is my privilege and delight to be spending some time with you looking at the area of law, ethics, corporate responsibility, and governance. It's kind of a strange group of things, but we're going to have a lot of fun together. Because if this isn't going to be fun for you and it isn't going to be fun for me, there's just no point in doing it. So that's my basic approach to what we're going to be doing together. Now, I've been doing this for a long time. I'm a lawyer who has been practicing for some 40 some odd years, and I've also been teaching for some 40 some odd years, and I've been teaching people just like you, people who are not going to be lawyers, people who don't want to go to law school, people who are really business folks, but business folks who have to deal with an environment that includes law, regulatory matters, lawyers, and all that stuff out there. So in a very real sense, what we're going to be doing together is looking at that environment. I found in my own practice that, which exists at the same time that I teach, that the skills that I develop in teaching are terribly useful in terms of instructing my clients. If I can explain something to you, I can also explain it to my client. But more than that, many of the examples, many of the situations that you will hear about and that we will discuss together in this course really are an outgrowth of decades of experience in dealing with real-life problems, because this is a real-life course. I think as we wade through this together, you will see that you think about things entirely differently than you ever thought about them before, that this stuff is immediately useful. Now, be careful. We're not turning you into lawyers. You're not going to be going off representing yourself. But if we do our job well, I hope that you will have the skills to organize your personal life, and more importantly, perhaps your business life, in a way that can think about legal issues, can avoid legal problems. And once you realize that you've got a legal problem, help you use counsel effectively. Now, in order to use counsel effectively, you have to understand that these folks have been trained in a different paradigm. These folks that are coming through a law school are thinking like lawyers. Hell, they are lawyers. So you need to understand how they think. And it is part of my job here to try to, just for a little while, have you submerged into enough of the law so that you can understand where these people are coming from and how you can use them effectively in your personal lives and in your business life. Okay, so there is a need, I am sure, for MBA students to know something about law. I've got to be very frank with you. There's not a lot of agreement from professor to professor or from school to school about what exactly should be taught. So I'm going to tell you, as the designer of this course, what trade-offs I've made and why I've made them. First of all, I think it's important to recognize that as you go through this program and you learn about the financial environment, you learn about the human resource environment, you understand the marketing environment, and you understand accounting. All of these are very, very important to the functioning of business, but when we pick up the front page, be it of the local paper or of the financial press, we see again and again failures in the legal area that create front page news. Again and again, we see everything from Enron to Volkswagen, where huge consequences flow from things that were either unethical, where a firm failed to understand what its social responsibility was, or it simply does things that are plain illegal. But there must be more to it than just do the right thing and don't do anything that's illegal. In fact, the purpose of this is to really teach you enough about the law so that you can manage effectively in the legal environment, and to do so in a manner that provides ethical leadership and is mindful of the firm's governance and its obligations to its stakeholders. We're going to explore all of that in some detail. Well, my goodness, the task here is huge. It's like all outdoors. It's sort of like everything that isn't taught in any of the other courses in an MBA program when you look at it. But you can't do it all. So how did I design the course? How are we going to proceed together to try to achieve these objectives? We can't possibly cover everything in the law, all of ethics, everything in social responsibility and governance, and give you everything that it might be useful for you to know as a manager. But my task here, I think, is to give you a trade-off between depth and breadth. If I try to do everything, it's going to be like flying across the country in an airliner at 40,000 feet. Ooh, I can see there from farms. Oh, look, there's a city over there. But you're not going to know anything. You're going to know it's there. You're going to hear about the names. But we need to get down quite a bit. We need to get off the plane. We need to walk some streets together. We need to grapple with some problems together. And I think, in fact, I'm sure, at some point during this course, you're going to say, what's with this guy? He seems to think he's training lawyers. The reason that we are going to be looking at as much detail as we are is that I want to get you to understand enough about the nature, the texture, the tone, the color of the law. You're going to forget the details. 6 months from now, a year from now, you finish this course, you go your way, you're going to forget the 3 exceptions of this, the 2 exceptions of that code section number that you learned for the final. You're going to forget it. But what I hope you're going to remember about this experience is a little bit of that frustration, a little bit of that confusion, and a lot about this sort of experience. Even if that experience is frustrating, even if it's anxiety producing, it is that experience that I am hoping you're going to have that is going to be terribly, terribly useful to you. So our time together, how are we going to do that? Our time together is going to focus mostly on the law of contracts and the law of agency. And as I'll explain, contracts is essential to every business function. I mean, what does the firm do? Think about everything that you learn about in all of these courses. Think about what you do when you go to work. You buy things, you sell things, the firm borrows, lends, it makes relationships between people and forms organizations like partnerships, like corporations, like limited liability companies. All of this is based upon contracts. So if I give you a firm understanding of contracts, you can use that to learn everything else in business, and you can also use it to learn anything else that you may need to know about law, if you need to know something very, very specifically. So this is fundamental, and that's why it may seem we are spending a disproportionate period of our time learning about contracts. That's mostly what we're going to be doing here together, as well as talking about issues of corporate social responsibility, ethics, and government, but we're going to do that in the context of our discussions of contract law. In addition to our time together, you're going to be meeting each week in live sessions where you will have an opportunity to expand the applications of what we're studying here about the law, and where you will focus on, in much more detail, on issues in ethics, corporate responsibility, and governance. And you'll have an opportunity to give some thought to an individual think piece, if you will, about a topic in ethics, corporate responsibility, or governance that will call upon your personal reaction to these readings and to our discussion and to your experiences, both personally and in your business world and your business life. So I'm really, really happy to be here with you. I've given a lot of thought to what's the best way to give you this experience that I think is essential to your success, both as an individual in society and as a member of a firm. So I'm thrilled to be here. I'm excited to get started. So let's go.